Well, the scouting combine is a really good platform for obviously, teams, front offices, GMs, owners to negotiate while everybody is kind of focused on the scouting combine the coming days. This gives a chance for top executives to talk to each other regarding trades of specific players that could be dealt. And the Philadelphia Eagles have some big news regarding Hassan Reddick, and it might not sound too great, but what is going to be the compensation in return? A lot going on there. And obviously, two linebackers from the scouting combine have already met with the Philadelphia Eagles and names that we're very familiar with. So let's get into it.
We better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a great day. So, first on the list of what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles, Josina Anderson has put out a report. Reports are swirling all around regarding Hassan Reddick and a potential trade. Um, you know, Regardless of what's going to happen here, we'll see. It says, I'm told several teams have expressed interest in trading for Eagles linebacker Hassan Reddick per source, hashtag NFL Scouting Combine. Now, yeah, as we want to really see like how much interest teams have. We know Reddick was, asked permission from the Eagles to go seek out, a number really of what his worth, what his value is with double-digit sack seasons the last couple years. With the Philadelphia Eagles have done it, you know. Has done it four times already in his career, and it's hard to trade a guy like this. We all know this. Hassan Reddick turns 30 in September. Um, a big loss for the Eagles if they do lose him regarding a trade. But what is Howie wanting in draft compensation? See, if Reddick was a little bit younger, I think this trade would go off a little bit easier because at turning 30 years old now when it comes to players that turn 30 or they get these big contracts at 30 years old, it's happened. It's not impossible for it not to happen. Guys get paid a lot of money. Hence why we didn't re-sign, Javon Hargrave on the line, things like that. You're not paying a 30-year-old, 20 something million. But things do change. It doesn't seem like Hassan Reddick is declining. I feel like he could still be here for another few years and produce at a high level. Never really, as much as I know the defensive line did hit a wall because of the coaching aspect of everything, and Hassan Reddick has played outside linebacker and 3-4 scheme. So I'm guessing there's a fit there where he's done it before in his career. And with Vic Fangio, probably the best coach that's going to coach him up and get him to be a top tier defensive end next year, get this defense back to what it's supposed to be with a really good coaching aspect behind it. So several teams having interest in Hassan Reddick. I don't know what you're going to be asking for. You're not going to get a first round pick for him. I'm wondering if this is more of a pick for next year in 25. Maybe they get an early second round pick. I mean, all I can think of right now is I would say two picks, a mid round pick and a top second day pick, which I'm looking for the top second rounder you can get. I'm not getting anything less than that in value because Hassan Reddick could get to another roster and start immediately right there. Um, this is like I said, the combine is a platform where GMs, owners, people can talk to each other regarding players of rumors of all these trades going on, kind of get some deals done behind the scenes, or at least talk with some teams behind the scenes, which the Eagles have probably done at the combine. The other day, this past day, we're getting to the combine this week. Obviously, everything going on as of right now. So all these trade talks are going to escalate, and we're going to find out what happens. I mean, if a deal is done, if a deal is right, I think they will trade him. It didn't sound like it was too promising, but I think if the draft compensation is not good enough, they're going to give Hassan Reddick, at least from the rumors of what we heard so far, it will be between 20 to 22 million dollars. I don't think Reddick is going to get 25 plus. I know Brian Burns was asking for 30 plus million dollars, and obviously Reddick is a better player, and obviously I think he's a little bit older. I think the Panthers offered Brian Burns like 27 and he didn't take it. I think the number one thing is they really need to sign HaasonReddick to an extension, save that $11 million in cap space, and sign him first and sign him immediately. This way you have no troubles down the road. God forbid someone gets paid over $25-30 million if that's what they're actually going to get. And then Reddick is going to ask for the same thing and say, well, my statistics are way better than these other guys getting paid. And, then the Eagles will be pretty much, they'll have to trade him at that point. The Eagles don't have to do anything, really. I don't know if Reddick would actually hold out, but if the Eagles want to hold on to HaasonReddick on the last year of his deal, play him through the last year of his deal, it's going to be a $20 million cap hit, which the Eagles can take that if they want, but in Howie Roseman's eyes, that's too big of a number, and I think Reddick needs to be extended. I don't think they'll keep him at that number just because to keep him in Philadelphia for his last year, for as a prove-it year for HaasonReddick, for a contract for the 2025 offseason going into that season. So I think a move has to be done regardless, but I don't want to be swindled here. I want to get top compensation for him. Like I said, it's not going to be a 3rd round pick. If HaasonReddick was, 26, 27, I could see them doing it. But at 30 years old, coming in September, 29-year-old defensive, outside linebacker right now / defensive end, for a guy that could produce immediately for another team, I'm asking for the top day 2 pick that they could get for this year. And, sometimes in my understanding what Howie Roseman will do, this is something you need compensation for. They can get a pick for 25. If a team says, hey, we'll give you a mid-round pick for this year, and we'll give you a top second day pick, a top second round pick for next year. We'll give you our top second pick. Say it's like I don't know, the 40, I don't know, like if it's the 40th pick or something just high up there. They might take a second round pick for 25 and get another mid-round pick for this year, but we need something right now. We need as much ammunition as possible, with the Eagles having a first, 2 seconds. I know they have 4 5th-round picks, so adding another mid-round pick won't be a bad thing for this year if they want to get a bigger second-round pick next year. I just feel like, with Nolan Smith not producing, which I think he will now in this scheme as an outside linebacker, and defensive end with Josh Sweat, will Reddick being traded, will this allow Josh Sweat to get an extension after this year, since the last year of his deal? Brandon Graham is a free agent. It's empty. I mean, if Nolan Smith had 6 to 10 sacks this year, yeah, I would say this would be a little bit more comfortable getting rid of HaasonReddick. But, double-digit sack seasons the last couple years, and God knows what he's going to do. And Vic Fangio's system trending in a positive manner, I feel some good things coming from it. But right now, like, since you're so depleted at defensive end, and if there is a deal on the table for HaasonReddick that is totally worth the future of this team, then I'm guessing that Howie just has to take it at this point. Because you're not going to get a first rounder. And if there is a first rounder on the table, maybe for next year or something, I think you got to take it. And then, you'll free up over $11 million regardless, whether it's $11 to $16 million for HaasonReddick getting traded anyway. You know what I mean? So, you're getting a big chunk of cap back, which you could fill in more system scheme fits for Vic Fangio, because he's going to have a lot of control. So you might have to sacrifice HaasonReddick's numbers, him leaving, to bring in more guys that not fit the scheme, but more guys at a lower cost, multiple guys at a lower cost that fit the scheme really well. The Eagles are paying somebody on defense. The Eagles haven't really touched their own roster yet regarding cap space. They haven't freed up any cap space. Nothing has really gone on yet. So this is going to be interesting of what happens. I don't know if Reddick's going to get the money he wants, and I don't think the Eagles are going to get the compensation they want for it as well. So if that's the case for both, the Eagles will just extend him themselves. 20 to 22 million is the rumored price right now. So we'll see what happens. So more news will be coming of that. Probably another week. We'll find out a lot more. Another 6-7 days. We'll see. I think one bit of news that I think is really interesting going into free agency is going to be Tony Pollard. There's been a lot of rumors going around that Kellen Moore could want him in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. Does this make any sense? we know how the running back market is. We know how the running backs feel about how they're not getting paid enough. And, he's coming off of a 1,000-yard season, 1,000-yard seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. Kellen Moore was in Dallas when they drafted him, was there for a few years when he was in the building. So, I mean, knows the player very well, knows how to utilize him. Is this the cheaper option? Now, we have to pick our poison here, or I should say the Eagles have to pick their poison on this matter, because you're not going to go out and you're either going to pay a running back, or you're going to go into the draft and get one a little bit higher, not get one in the first round, obviously. But, I know the MO for the Eagles is they don't pay running backs, but somebody has got to get paid, because you're not, like I said, you're not drafting one high. So what is the cheaper option? Will they weigh through their options through free agency with some of these backs? And from what Nick and Howie were saying at the press conference at the combine, it seemed like it was just like up in the air with DeAndre Swift. However it happens, he was very successful last year, Pro Bowl, over 1,000-yard season, first in his career. You know what I mean? So it depends on the numbers of what these guys want. And, I think the Eagles they have no choice. They have to bite the bullet here. You can't be afraid to pay a running back. You can't be the number has to be fitting how the market is. And then these running backs pretty much, they're not going to hold out. They know that, you'd rather franchise tag a running back. You'd rather pick up a 5th-year option if you draft one in the first round. You don't want to pay a guy long term. Okay, if it's a 2-year deal for Tony Pollard or somebody like that, we'll see. But the utilization is going to be like the biggest thing with Kellen Moore and who he wants to use as a dual threat type back. And I think as much as I like DeAndre Swift a lot, but with Tony Pollard, you can almost do not necessarily the same thing, but close to it with putting him in the passing game and lining him up wherever you want. And was a huge weapon for Dallas as well when they utilized him correctly, and it would be a really good pickup for the Eagles. It's just, statistics are statistics at the end of the day, and these guys feel like they bring a lot of value. We've seen what Tony Pollard has done behind a good offensive line with the Dallas Cowboys when they were 100% healthy at times. And, when you have an offensive line like that, you can attack. And, I feel like you're going to sign 2 more running backs, whether you sign Pollard or you sign DeAndre Swift, and go into the draft on day 3 and kind of get that. Maybe you get a bigger back, maybe you get a bruiser in the later rounds, or maybe they do the total opposite and maybe get a Derrick Henry here and then maybe go for a dual threat in the draft. There's a whole bunch of different possibilities where they can go with this. 6 touchdowns for Tony Pollard last year. And I know that Dallas is losing Dowdle and they're losing Tony Pollard. So, and they're going to be in the mix for a running back as well. So the Eagles have to pounce as fast as possible. When it comes to getting a running back, because they can't. They're at a crossroad now. Like, they have to do something. They can't just keep Kenny G in the building. Kenny G's on the last year of his deal right now. I mean, sooner or later you're gonna have no running backs. You have nobody here long term. I understand the Eagles don't want to do that, but a decision is gonna have to be made on this. So we'll see what happens. I'm actually really excited about the running back position, who they're going to bring in. I think Kellen Moore's going to have a lot of pull when it comes to specific players that they're getting, as well as Vic Fangio on defense. I think these coordinators have a lot of control over the players that they want to get, that they can utilize perfectly. And Pollard could be the number 1 guy here. You got to pick and choose here. Someone's going to be out there for the Eagles, whether it's Swift, whether it's Pollard, whether it's, a mixture of 2 backs, 1 in the draft, 1 you get in free agency. I'm eager to see what these guys are going to get paid, but they want over 12, 15. It's not going to happen, because you're putting more, especially with the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman. He's putting more into the trenches than you are. This is what happens. You don't want to be the Tennessee Titans that's dealing with injuries every single year, you're building your offense around a running back. That's not how you do things. Okay. Thank God this team values trenches a lot more. And yes, we wish that they put more. The most they've ever put a lot into a running back was really when they drafted Miles Sanders in the 2nd round, which no one really expected. When he came back out of the draft, he's like, "Oh, we draft running backs in Philadelphia," as a joke. At the press conference at night when after everything was said and done. But it would be nice to have someone here for a few years, a 3-year deal at least. I mean, not even like 2. Like, I would like a 3-year deal out of somebody. I know you don't want to put a lot into that position, but like I said, decisions are going to have to get made. And that is the news on Tony Pollard so far. Now, talking about the combine is going to be interesting. And obviously, one of the biggest needs, probably the most empty position right now, is the linebacker position with Nakobe Dean being there all by himself. Hurt 3 times, 2 times on IR last year, and not really being a good liability for us at this point. And got to put as many type of, at least as many type of, give him some competition in front of him. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr., obviously one that was talked about, was interviewed at the combine. The Eagles did talk to him, and it was great because, you get to hear all the stories of his father playing for the Eagles and a lot of things like that. A lot of Eagle fans do complain about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. because he's almost the same size as Nakobe Dean, and maybe he plays a little bit bigger. Maybe he is a better player and obviously could stay healthy, which definitely helps because Nakobe Dean's availability is probably the biggest problem right now. We can't get to see anything because he's not hitting the field, not playing for a long time. But it was funny because, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. talked about his father. And talked about that he's an old school linebacker in a new age body. So plays old school, plays physical. And I know that he brings the heat, no doubt. So they bring the Axeman Jr. to Philadelphia would be a fantastic thing. I think multiple linebacker moves have to be made. Regardless of Jeremiah Trotter Jr., I would go sign a linebacker to big money. I think Van Ginkel is the #1 guy on the Eagles list. You go sign a prove it guy in free agency, like a 1 to 2 year type deal, prove it type guy, and then go into the draft and hit a 3rd time in the 2nd round, where the Eagles have 2 second-round picks. So Jeremiah Trotter Jr. might be there, but there's got to be a bigger move in front of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Give Nakobe Dean a lot of, like I said, give him a lot of, competition. Edgerrin Cooper's another one that talked to the Eagles saying he would fit the Eagles scheme. Obviously, this is a bigger linebacker at 6'2", 6'3", 235, 240, which, he said that he would fit the scheme really well. And, his pursuit is really good and it does a really good job with Vic Fangio's, fit his scheme really well. So, Howie Roseman has been challenged the last 2 press conferences, the one we saw the other day, and obviously the end of the season press conference where, he's asking for a linebacker question or, oh, people say I don't value linebackers. I think Howie Roseman is taking that as a challenge, but there's been a lot of rumors that the Eagles are going to be going after a lot of veterans on the market. Okay. And I think a vet at linebacker that they're going to pay is definitely going to be one. A prove it guy will be another, and drafting one of these 2. Now, I don't know if they're going to be in the line for Edgerrin Cooper. There has been some rumors regarding the Eagles moving up in the teen spots of this draft. I don't know. I'm not going to come out and, there's been some third-party rumors on that. I'm not going to, kind of put it as official until there actually is an official meaning towards it when it comes to a report. But it seems like the Eagles might want to move up. There's a specific player up there, and we'll see what happens. We still got free agency. We still got the combine this week, and we need to see what the Eagles do to their own roster, the cap space they're going to have, and, what is likely to be at the end of free agency, where it's going to open up a lot of possibilities to where certain positions are going to look pretty empty and might designate where they might go in the draft, so we'll see what happens. Having those extra of those 4 5th-round picks, having those 2 second-round picks could really help you move up. They have the ammo to do it. I'm not worried about, I don't know if they can move up. They have the ammo to get it done. And they have picks for next year if they want to use some picks for next year. If that's the case, if it takes a little bit more, depending on how far they want to move up. I'm not saying they're going to move up top 10. They'll move up to, I could see them moving up from, 14 to 20, 15 to 20, something like a 4 to 5 move up type move. Maybe that's where I could really see them going. But it's nice to see that they are talking to linebackers. This is all due diligence, but once these the unofficial visits happen, that's where things are going to start to get real. The combine is the combine, Senior Bowl. They're going to meet with a lot of players. It's the due diligence of what they do, of every team, what they do. Just a formal little quick meeting. At the combine, it looks a little bit promising. But you gotta take everything with a grain of salt at the end of the day too. When it comes to some of these meetings and stuff, once these players start going to the NovaCare, start visiting, then things start to get really real. But let me know what you guys think about both linebackers, Edgerrin Cooper, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Who would be the better fit in Philadelphia? Josina Anderson and her news on HaasonReddick. Do you think they get a trade done? Do you think if the compensation's not right, they're just going to extend Reddick and kind of meet in the middle on a price? You guys let me know on that, and I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up, follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.